How's it going out there, YouTubers? Cyberneticshark here with another new movie review for you. So let's get right into this review and see what I saw. So welcome to another awesome movie review, guys. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and all that good stuff. You know what I mean? Anyways, so the movie I'll be talking about today, I just actually saw about a week ago, and it is a remake of a 1988 film that was considered a big success, based off of a great book by an amazing horror writer. And this remake actually took some liberties and kind of switched a few things around that were different from the book and from the movie from 1988. Now, this film is just a really well done and awesome type of horror film. I actually was kind of on the fence at first when I first heard they were making a remake of it, and I was like, well, you know, some remakes are really good, some remakes are really bad, so I got to give it the benefit of the doubt and check it out and see how it is. So I definitely did that with this one, and I was actually really shocked at how awesome and excellent it was. Now, the movie I'm talking about is the awesome remake, like I said, of a great horror classic called Pet Sematary. Oh, yeah. Pet Sematary, a Stephen King novel. So the Stephen King novel is just a classic novel that Stephen King wrote. It was adapted into a film back in the 80s that was considered a big hit. The first one was. They did end up making a sequel, but that one didn't do as well as the first one did, even though it had a pretty decent cast in the film. But definitely this remake, I was really shocked at what they did with it. Because like I said, they did take some liberties and they switched a couple things around. So when you do check it out, you'll keep that in mind, that there are a few different things that they did to the film that are different from the original film if you're a big fan of that film. And I thought that the changes were fun. I thought it was definitely a different way of taking it, a different way of seeing where the story could go, but given the same principle of what the original book and movie told us, basically. Now, this film was directed by a couple of newcomers, actually. It was co-directed by two guys, and this is their feature-length first film. And there is no other knowledge of, unfortunately, these guys, if they've been writers on anything, if they've been producers, but this is their first feature-length film and only film that they've directed. Now, that happens to be the gentleman duo of Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Wedmeyer. Oh, yeah. Now, I thought they directed the film very well. I thought they had a really great aspect and thought on what they wanted to do with film. I thought they took it in a great new direction. I thought it was a really well done, executed remake of a horror film that they directed. I thought they had a great, outline that they followed. I thought that they did a really fantastic job of directing the actors and the actresses in the direction that they wanted to take the film. And, still keeping to that original film, they really captured the essence of that original film by taking it in their own way and giving it a new, and 30-year kind of upgrade, basically. And I thought they did a really decent job. Really well done, and looking forward to seeing more from these guys. They did a pretty decent job, I thought. So this film has a really decent cast. Some great actors and actresses that, have been around, done a few things, and are decent actors and actresses, and I thought that they were a pretty decent choice for these characters. Especially the Fred Gwynne character from the original film, of placing a great actor in that position that I didn't think they could get somebody as good as this, but they did. They really got somebody that brought to life that character again, and I thought that the actor did an amazing job of portraying that character. Now, to start off this awesome cast, we have none other than a decent actor. Like I said, he has become kind of a common household name now. He's been in a few films that have been successful. He's been in a few that haven't, and he's definitely a star on the rise, and is definitely a decent actor, I feel. And that, of course, is Mr. Jason Clarke. Now, Jason Clarke you might recognize from the newer movie that just came out the beginning of this year that stars Anne Hathaway and Matthew McConaughey, where he plays the husband that Anne Hathaway wants to get killed. And he's been in a few other films over the years that were considered, interesting films as well. And he's considered kind of a decent, actor that has some great acting chops as well. Now, a couple of films I've seen him in and thought that he was really good in was none other than a great film that came out in 2014 that was a sequel to an already existing great franchise. Now, this franchise, had originally like 5 or 6 films back in the 60s through the 70s, and then they decided to kind of reboot it in the 2000s with a great cast, a great line, and just a really great inspiration of a new type of, giving us this new generation of this, this information and this cool, movie series. And that, of course, is the sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes that came out in 2011, I believe, or 2012. And that, of course, is the film called, ready for it, people? Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Oh, yeah. So this is a sequel to the one that James Franco was in with Caesar. And Jason Clarke plays one of the main characters in the film, and he was really awesome in the film. This was just a really amazing film, too, as well. And Jason Clarke's performance in it just was a great addition to that film. I mean, you had other great actors in it. You had Kerry Russell that was in the film. You had Gary Oldman as well. And Jason Clarke just was a really great kind of, like, hero character in the film. And that just brought a great essence of, like, just an average everyday guy coming out of nowhere that's like the scientist type of guy kind of, and coming in and trying to help these, genetically enhanced apes basically. And it was just, he just did a really great job. Really enjoyed him in it, and I thought he did a great performance. Really fun film too. If you haven't seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, definitely check it out, people. It's worth the watch. Now that brings me to the second film that he was in, which is another sequel to another awesome franchise that kind of has gone downhill since the third film. Now a lot of people hate the third film, they hated the fourth film, and then this film was kind of supposed to be like a soft reboot to the film franchise that critically didn't do too well, but I still thought it was a really decent film. And that, of course, is the awesome film Terminator Genisys. Oh yeah. So Terminator Genisys, like I said, is supposed to kind of be a soft reboot that they were trying to, reinvent the Terminator franchise. Jason Clarke actually ends up playing Edward Furlong's character, John Connor, in this particular film. And he just was really great as kind of like a hero, antagonist, bad guy character. And I really enjoyed what he brought to the John Connor persona and definitely the character, because it was, unfortunately I wish they had brought Edward Furlong on for Terminator 3, because it had been long enough years that, they could have used him, but unfortunately he was having problems at the time. But at the same time, it's like Jason Clarke did just as good a job as I think Edward Furlong would have done, playing the John Connor character older and wiser and been, battle-ridden and stuff like that. And I just thought that he did a really fantastic job on the film. Made a great, like I said, a great adaptation of what John Connor was as an adult. Because we really haven't seen, even in the films, even when we saw John Connor as an adult, it wasn't very long, and it didn't really have speaking parts. I mean, it really wasn't until Terminator Salvation that we got kind of that aspect of, adult John Connor and kind of what he's dealing with in the future. And so I thought Jason Clarke, taking it from Christian Bale, did a really decent job of making that character his own and making a great performance. Really awesome film, I thought. And I thought it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, people. It's a fun film, worth the watch. Even though it's, not the greatest continuation of the storyline, still a decent film and fun, and lots of great action in the film and great CGI work. Now, when it comes to Jason Clarke's character in Pet Sematary, I really enjoyed him playing the main lead actor character in the film, and I thought he did a really good job. I really enjoyed how his character, basically progressed through the film, and how what his mindset was as he was, dealing with what happens in the film. And I thought that he did a really great job and made it very realistic too. And that was one great thing about this Pet Sematary, is they made it very realistic. So that was kind of interesting to see that they took that aspect and kind of made it a little bit more, realistic versus the original one, where it was like just kind of like, completely out there kind of. But at the same time, I thought that he did a great job of bringing that character to life again for us, giving us a new version and a little different aspect of where this character could go for a new generation that maybe hasn't seen the original Pet Sematary. And I thought Jason Clarke was just a really great addition to the film. He did a really good job, and I was really impressed with his performance in the film. Now that brings me to the second actor in this awesome film, or actress, I should say, that was a really pivotal character in the film too as well. Her character, I feel, was a lot different than her previous portrayal in the original Pet Sematary and in the book, but still was a really interesting take on the character. Now this actress happens to be one that she's been around. She's done a few things, has done some TV, done modeling, stuff like that, and is a decent actress. And definitely, this was the first film I really got to see her do a lot of acting in versus the other roles I've seen her in. Because the other roles I've seen her in were kind of small bit parts that weren't very long in the film, but still were very memorable. Now, this character, or this actress, happens to be an awesome actress named the great, amazing Amy Schmetz. Oh, yeah. Amy Schmetz. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't really... Her last name is kind of hard to pronounce. It's Seimtz, I think. So it's like... I think it's Schmetz. I think it's Shemitz. I'm not too sure. If you want to correct me, that's fine. But that's the best I can go with that for people there. Yeah. Anyway, so Amy Schmetz, I thought, was really decent in the film. And did a really decent job of giving us a new portrayal of the wife character from the original Pet Sematary and the book. I thought she was a really interesting choice because, like I said, I've seen her in a few other things. I wasn't really, aware of how good her acting talent was, but I thought she brought it in the film. I thought she really did a great performance and gave us this really interesting new characterization, like I said. It's a really interesting and well done portrayal by her, I felt. There was a few moments I feel that she kind of overacted, but I still thought that she did a pretty decent job. Now, a couple of films that I've seen her in that I thought she was pretty good in was a great horror film, another horror film that came out back in 2012 and was considered kind of a sleeper hit because I think a lot of people didn't think that this movie was going to do as well as it did, and it ended up doing really well and becoming kind of like a cult classic. This film I'm talking about happens to be called You're Next. Oh yeah. This awesome film is one of my all-time favorite horror films. I love it. I think it was a really clever idea. And Amy plays a character in the film that was a really short role, but plays one of the sisters of the family that's going to have this kind of like family reunion at the house where these crazy murders happen in the film. And she has a really short part, but I thought that she did a really fantastic job, especially when she's in her dying scene, basically, in the film. And I thought that she did a great job of, being pretty realistic and pretty true to her character and giving us this really interesting and fun character in the film, even though it wasn't a huge role, still left an impression on you from, what her performance was in the film. Really well done and really enjoyed in the film, and just an all-around great film, too, as well. Another film that Amy was in was an awesome film that came out in 2017 that was a awesome sequel to a really fun film that came out in 2010 that was kind of a prequel series to the Alien trilogy, quadrilogy that we already had. Now, this sequel had a huge cast. It had Danny McBride in it. James Franco had a brief part in it. You had Guy Pearce make an appearance in the film. I mean, this movie was just a really big powerhouse of a film. Michael Fassbender, and it was directed again by Ridley Scott as well. And that, of course, is the film called Alien Covenant. Oh, yeah. I thought this was an absolutely fantastic film. I enjoyed it even more than Prometheus. I thought this was just a really fantastic alien film, especially that we got to see the xenomorphs again and kind of like what their biological history is and basically where they came from. And I thought that was a really cool aspect that Ridley Scott did in giving us kind of that, how they developed, how they were made, and how they basically came to be. And Amy had a brief part in the film that plays the wife of Danny McBride's character in the film. And her final scene in the film was really intense and awesome, and I really thought she did a fantastic job of like kind of like this fight sequence in the film. And even though her part wasn't huge, it was so memorable too, just like in You're Next. And was just a really fun character, and it was fun to see her kind of interact with Danny McBride the little bit that she got to, and just like how she reacted with everyone else in the film too, and kind of gave us this tidbit on this character, which would have been nice to see more about. And I thought she just did a really fun job in the film, and I really enjoyed her in it, just like I did in You're Next. Just a really well-rounded performance, even though it was a small and short part. But when it comes to, like I was saying, in Pet Sematary, I thought she did a fantastic job. Thought she did a really good job. Had a few parts that I thought she over-exaggerated. But at the same time, I thought that she was a great choice, really fun to watch in the film. And I thought that she was a decent choice for the role. And it was fun to see her kind of interact with Jason Clarke and the kids and John and one of the other characters in the film. And just like how she portrayed the character, took it to a different level, and how, the changes in the film from the original, how she took that on and did a really good job of portraying those. Really, really fun role. Definitely a decent job, and definitely worth watching for her performance. She was pretty decent. So that brings me to the final actor that is an awesome comedian, dramatic actor, everything he does. He's just an amazing actor. Absolutely love this guy. I think he's fantastic, just person too as well, and just an awesome all-around guy. And that, of course, is Mr. John Lithgow. Oh, yeah. So you might recognize John Lithgow from such films as Raising Cain. You might recognize him from the show Third Rock from the Sun with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and French Stewart. And just a huge, great cast. That was a great comedy series on CBS or NBC. One of those. I can't remember exactly. I know it was one of those, but a great series anyways. And just a fantastic, actor that has been in so many different things over the years. Buckaroo Bonanza he was in. He always can play different types of characters, and he does such a great job at it. Now, a couple films I really enjoyed him and thought he was fantastic in was none other than an awesome villain character in a 1993 film starring Sylvester Stallone that was directed by Rennie Harlin. And that, of course, is the awesome action-packed thriller Cliffhanger. Oh, yeah. Cliffhanger. I absolutely love his Eric Quaylen character in the film. I thought he was such a great bad guy. I love the accent that he used in the film and just how he interacted with everyone and how sadistic he was. And I thought he just really brought Eric to life and gave us this great bad guy that I think goes down in enemy, bad guy history of great filmed bad guys. And he just was so good at the character and gave us this really amazing performance. Really amazing role. Just a fantastic film, too. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was such a great action film. Great cast, too, in the whole film. And I just thought he brought a great presence to that film as well and worked really well with Sylvester Stallone. Another great film that Mr. John Lithgow was in is a great film from the 1980s about a great giant-sized Bigfoot character. And this film was just an amazing, fun family adventure film. Had a great cast, just a really fun film, and it just made you fall in love with John Lithgow because he just was like so awesome and fun in this film. And that, of course, is the awesome film Harry and the Hendersons. Oh, yeah. So if you're not familiar with Harry and the Hendersons, basically, it's like I said, it's about a Bigfoot that they encounter while they're out camping. And basically, they bring it home and try to, basically keep it at their home and try to domesticate it and, like, all this kind of stuff and be, like, these people that, we found Bigfoot and stuff like that. And kind of like how it becomes, like, a family adventure where they have to save Harry from the big bad guys, basically. And it was just a really fun, family-friendly film. And John was just so awesome in the film. I absolutely loved his character. Thought he was so hilarious. Had a lot of great one-liners, lots of great dialogue, great scenes with Harry, and just had a great timing throughout the whole film, too, as well. And just was a really fun film that I feel he had a lot of fun doing, too, as well. Really well done role. Really enjoyed John in it. I thought he did such a fantastic job. Now, like I was saying before, John Lithgow was the perfect choice for the Fred Gwynne character from the original film. This was a pivotal role that for this film that I was really worried that they weren't going to cast the right person. When I found out it was John Lithgow, I knew he would make a great performance, and he did that. He was so amazing as a character. Absolutely loved him. I thought he did Fred Gwynne justice of the same character that he did back in the original Pet Sematary, and he just was so awesome as the character. I loved everything about his character, his interactions, how he kind of took the character and made it a little bit more about more of a lonelier man. How he felt his destructive powers of dealing with the Pet Cemetery, and how he thought he was being helpful, but really he was just hindering them, and all that kind of cool stuff. He just did a really phenomenal job, and I was really impressed with it. Really enjoyed his performance, and always enjoy and looking forward to more of his performances in films. Now, if you're not familiar with what Pet Sematary is about, basically the premise of the film is this family moves to this remote location, basically out in the middle of Maine, to this new house to get away from the big city, to kind of regroup and get back together so that they can have more time with family and stuff like that. And unfortunately, one of their pets dies, and they end up burying it in an area that ends up being called a pet cemetery. And basically, the rest of the movie is about, life challenges and the consequences of them burying these people or creatures in the pet cemetery, and them coming back to life, basically. So, I mean, that's pretty much the premise of the film, and them having to deal with their actions for doing this to try to bring a loved one back or a loved animal back, and just what they have to deal with these consequences. It's a really amazing remake. Really thought it was really fantastic. I was really impressed. If you're a big fan of the original, you should like this one too, especially with its new twist and new angle that it took. And it's just a really fun and awesome remake. Really well directed, really well acted by everyone. A great screenplay and screenwriting for the film. And it had a great horror element to it that made it a little different than the original too, because the original was a little bit more comical, where this one is more about being scary and realistic. And that's what I liked about this one too, that it gave it that new aspect. And that they tried to take it and evolve it and make it something new and different, and make it different than its original counterpart, so that you can enjoy both films. And I thought they did a great job of doing that. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely go check it out in theaters now, people. Fantastic film, really fun. It was really enjoyable, and can't wait to pick it up and add it to my collection. Well, that's it for this movie review, guys. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. And also, thank you for subscribing. And if it's your first time here, or if you've been here before and you haven't hit that subscribe one, what do I got to do, people? Do I got to resurrect your dead pet and tell it to come to you and be like, subscribe to this guy, subscribe. Come on, people. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss this awesome video or any awesome videos I put up. And as always, people, keep your eyes out for any older, newer videos you might not have seen mine yet. And as always, people, check out the awesome Stardust app, people, where you can watch 3 to 30-second little mini reviews of TV shows, trailers, movies, anything your heart desires, with also awesome new content's always being added, from things from polls to contests and all that kind of cool stuff. It's a free app. Download it from your respective Play Store. Create an account. Follow me under the Cybernetic 13. If you follow me, I'll follow you back. And as always, people, catch you in the next one.